Hey gang out there in Victoria 3 land, I'd like to talk about a few Victoria 3 mods. Now these are mods that greatly improve the game. The first one I want to talk about is No Flu. When you get to the later game, and you will get to the later game with two of the mods I'm suggesting here, but when you get to the later game, a flu event kicks off. It could be Spanish flu, American flu, British flu, somebody's flu, and it goes around the world. Okay, so you make choices on how to deal with it, and you think you're making some kind of impact on how the flu will spread, but you're not. It's all down to the random number generator. The choice you make has no impact, so you're left with essentially three choices. One, to have everybody get sick. Two, to have everybody get sick, but you do mild damage to your economy. Or three, everybody gets sick and you do severe damage to your economy. Well, okay, just do everybody gets sick. But they don't get sicker, and if you do, there's no point. So this one just gets rid of the flu, takes it out completely. If you have a game that is already got the flu in it, like I did in my 1907 save, this makes it go away. And eventually the different areas will time out if they already have flu modifiers. It's fine. And when I play this again, I'm going to have this thing turned on and not deal with the flu until it gets unbugged. Once it gets to be where there's a point in making a choice, yeah, I'll be happy to have flu events in my game. I kind of like that. It's some of the historical enrichment. But if it just goes ham and you can't do anything to combat it, well, then there's no point. So we skip over it. Anyway, that's one. Now, how do you get to that later game? Well, you get the performance overhaul mod. Ooh, ah. What does it do? It gets rid of a lot of calculations that cause lag. It will be more aggressive on assimilation, including the AI. It will set modifiers so the AI is always assimilating, and some other tweaks under the hood. This really helps a lot. And what helps with it is its companion mod, the Merged Cultures mod. Okay, this one I had some hesitancy about because, well, part of the game is, in fact, this is the emergence of national cultures. They should be doing things that are like revolting against the imperial overlords. We should see Austria flying apart in the Balkans. We should see all kinds of tension with Arab uprisings and Indian nationalism and Chinese nationalism, except that we don't. The only real nationalist events that we have are German and Italian unification. Everything else, meh. So until we get those events, why are we dealing with all these extra cultures? And I know, diversity, and I really like diversity. I like respecting others, but when it's my game, guys, we got to start abstracting somewhere, or else we're going to keep getting all these lags. Well, by merging a whole bunch of cultures, we get rid of a lot of lag. It's a terrible trade-off to have to make, but it's one that's necessary because those cultures are not necessary in the game. Anyway, with these two mods, I timed it. Before I loaded them up, I was playing a game in the late 1880s, and between 1886 and the end of 1889, it was averaging 7 minutes per year, or just over 7 minutes per year. By contrast, with these two mods loaded, I was checking again between 1894 and the end of 1897, and it was averaging about 4 minutes and 23 seconds per year. So 4 minutes and change, 4.5 minutes at worst per year, as opposed to 7 minutes per year. And this is also 10 years later than what I had with my first test. That is enormous performance improvement. Definitely, I can recommend Performance Overhaul add-on and Performance Overhaul, because, well, the add-on goes with this one too. You want the two together. But both together really improve the speed of the game in the late game. And that leaves me with my last mod, the Laxis revision of AI. This is an extension of Anbeld's revision of AI, which got broken with the 1.5 release. And Anbeld is not modding right now, so we miss out on that. Problems were happening with the economy. Let me go to the game here. Here's my Prussia. It's 1861. In the normal unmodded version, if I have a trade agreement with Britain, it's going to be a death sentence for my economy, because I will keep making everything and Britain will keep importing it, and I will never be able to have enough to satisfy my own market because the British are always paying a higher price than my internal market is. It's insane. But with the mod, if I have a trade deal with Britain, then I have a very low amount that gets traded to Britain, and I'm able to manage my own internal demand. Now, granted, wood is one area that I was particularly messed up with in the other game. I would have situations where, when I was talking about the 1880s, at the same time I was exporting like 10,000 units of wood to England, and they weren't making any. So we look here. Right now, I'm the number 2 producer worldwide. China is the number 1, and England right there, number 3. This is good. And yes, I do export 2,000 woods, but they're going to the Russian market. So there you go. It's not England. And now I wonder, why is it going to the Russian market? They've got wood too. They've got whole forests of the stuff. Something's up with that. That yes, we've got countries that are making somewhat better economic decisions, but it's not across the board better. And there's a darker side of this mod. Okay, here's the GDP breakout. If I sort by country rank, Germany here is number 2 with overall power and stuff. I've got 25 million population. My standard of living is number 122 globally. It's terrible. My GDP, I am number 8 globally because it's sort of like the China effect. China's got a terrible standard of living, but there's just so many people with that yeah, you get pretty hard, pretty high GDP with that. But yeah, I got terrible standard of living. What I'm not terrible at is my army. If we sort by number of battalions, I'm number 1 in the world. Remember, I had population of 25 million. China was 300 and something. We have the same army. We have the same navy. The British do have more fleets. Good for them on that. But yeah, we got nothing here. A country like the Netherlands should have more. They don't. Dutch East Indies has got one. Where do the Netherlands come in? Oh gosh. There they are. They have 0 fleets and only 20 battalions. Oh, is this a problem? Yes, it is. We have a number of nations that have a very small army, like Portugal. And if Portugal has a civil war, you have 2 factions, each with 0 armies. The thing goes on interminably. It's a forever war. And that means you're not able to do any taking of their states or any diplomatic plays involving them because they're tied down with this other civil war going on. Or the civil war region stays there and you can't do anything about that. This is a bad thing. Something in this mod causes countries to shed their entire military. They get a better standard of living out of it and they do better with their trade. But I need a little more military action in my game, and I need it to be where wars eventually end themselves because the participants have armies and it's not just a bunch of empty 0 unit but armies sitting there permanently fixed on the map. If we take a look at the later game, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, I've had fun here playing Germany in a game where there's very little military opposition. As you can see, Hungary is now left here because Austria has been eaten up by me. Got a little tiny bit over here and a little tiny bit over there. So there is no Austria-Hungary in the game. There's Austria and then there's Hungary. France ain't doing so well. England, yeah, they picked up a part of Spain. But overall, well, I'm the one doing expanding here. Britain picked up some Africa. France has knocked out some Africa too. But we're not really seeing a lot of conquest happening. And I feel a little guilty about that as Germany. I've been beating everybody up, it seems. My GDP is now number 8 worldwide, so I've improved from 122, and this is about, this year, that was 1861, so this is 25 years later. Doing good, doing good. Britain is now number 31 worldwide. My population is 80 million, let's sort there. China is 372, so they are, 4.5 times my size? They should have 4.5 times the size of my army if everything's proportional, so that should be, about 1,800 men in their army. Let's see what we got on the military. Oh, they do not have an army 4 times my size. They have an army 75% of my size. Their navy is larger, which is interesting because something I've seen happening, and I don't know if it's one of the mods doing it or if it's just the base game, but for some reason, countries seem to compete by building these massive navies made up of a single unit. And they will then deploy those single unit navies all over the trade points. So you'll have a single boat doing commerce raiding in some godforsaken part of the world. And I realize this to my cost as I'm getting hammered by thousands of convoys every war. I've changed my naval strategy where I'm no longer going to have these death stacks of big fleets. I'll keep them around to do invasions, but I have to build smaller fleets to protect these little nodes and then have a slightly larger fleet because the enemy will go at one particular node. They always keep coming at east, right here in the English Channel. And so I had a small fleet size that was just standard around the world, and that was kept getting knocked out here. So I need a slightly larger fleet to hold its ground, and then I should be fine. But yeah, they build these fleets of like all these. You look here, they got 70 in the Guangdong fleet, and then one fleet. You look at the British one here, highlight over that. They've got 2416, 843, and then 33 more items. Oh my gosh, they're all one boat large. British East India Company, 444. They got the one boats there. Russia, they go right into the one boats as well. This is it's silly. At least the Ottomans keep one together. Good job them. But everybody else, it's a tiny fleet out there. And if we look at nations that have zero, yeah, that's a lot of countries with zero military. Put another way, this is about midway down, and now we start to see countries with one military unit. So again, we're going to see these forever wars because nobody's got any army to beat up the rebels, and the rebels have no army to beat up the people they're rebelling against. This gets pretty bad. So on the whole, although I like being able to look at the amount of wood I have here in 1886 and go, my gosh, I've got 10,000 more woods than I need, even though I am trading substantial amounts to Russia, who, again, has for some reason decided to not exploit its own forests. But I digress. I like having these surpluses and having shortages that are not that large. That's nice. But the fact that the AI is not doing a lot of trade, they're being self-sufficient to the point where they grow the economy slowly. They have no military. It becomes a very, isolated game. These countries exist in isolation in a period where they should be trying to trade and engage in economies of scale and comparative differences and all that cool stuff. They're not. Something in this mod, the Laxis revision of AI, doesn't let these things happen. So what am I going to do? I'm going to keep the mod around and watch it and see if it develops, but I'm also going to take it out of my current play set and start over again and just deal with not ever having a trade relationship with England because I want to keep my wood and coal. So be it. So in summary, a strong recommendation for no flu, because when you get to the late game, the flu is a terrible thing to have to happen, and you want it out. Until it gets fixed, you want it out. A strong yes for performance overhaul. This does volumes of good for the game. And another yes for merged cultures. Now, I haven't played a game with just the performance overhaul and not with merged cultures. I might go ahead and do that again one time in the future. But for now, because there really isn't any difference in culture in the game, it's just a nice to have, I'm going to keep the mod and enjoy the performance boost. And while that was a yes to those other three mods, it's going to be a qualified no to Laxis revision of AI. I think it's interesting, it shows potential, but it needs some tweaking for it to really work properly and have countries really work out well in the game. So that's my summary. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying Victoria 3. They certainly made a lot of improvements in the 1.5 mod. I'm looking forward to the not 1.5 mod, 1.5 patch. I'm looking forward to 1.6 and 1.7 and the DLC for next year. The game is continually improving. I'm very happy for that.